Okay. So what is your name, year, and your major?
Your name, year, and major.
I'm Hannah Nordstrom.
Evan Wilson.
Jimmy Warren. I'm a freshman.
I'm a business major and I'm a sophomore here.
Okay. In your opinion, and in your experience, what is the media's portrayal of weed and the usage of marijuana?
I think a lot of commercials I see and things on social media, it's a pretty normal thing. A lot of people do it.
It depends on what media you try to read into. A lot of the more liberal biased media, like the New York Times and MSNBC and CNN, don't really report on it as much, while people like Fox News and the New York Post are more apt to use it as a kind of a fear-mongering tool.
That is an addictive drug. The side effects of smoking weed is becoming lazy. You're not really attentive in class, or just you're not able to focus.
People portray weed as it's not that bad. Like, it could be worse. Like, there's worse things out there. That's what most people say about it.
The media, more of a negative attitude towards weed, in my opinion.
What do you know about the current laws surrounding use of weed?
I know it varies from state to state. Some states it's recreational, some states it's medicinal, and some states it's completely illegal.
I know that it's becoming allowed in a lot more places, and I'm pretty sure in New York it'll be allowed pretty soon recreationally.
I know it's legalized for people over 21 in my hometown state, Massachusetts, but I don't know if is it legal here?
I know the current law is the fact that marijuana is illegal, but I think it's either this year or next year that they're gonna start their talks about the legalization of weed. So that's how much I'm aware.
What is your position on the current policies nationally?
What do you mean,
Like the federal law, how it's illegal, like by the federal law, but then the states, some states it's legal. So what do you?
I think the states that legalize weed, they're not doing bad, and I think we should take a page out of their book and legalize it, because it's not really that bad.
I think it should be legalized recreationally nationwide.
I feel like it becoming legal is not a good thing, because it'll start affecting kids, I guess. It could affect kids in a way, I guess. That's it.
You want to explain that?
I don't know, it might be easier to get and be more in the system.
Oh, definitely. They're way too strict. Marijuana is scheduled, I think, right now as a Schedule 1 drug, which is in the same category, I think, as heroin and cocaine, which means that it would have to be as disastrous and as fatal as as cocaine and heroin, which it certainly is not. It has a lot more medical benefits and is being used recreationally and medically in multiple different states for that specific purpose. So no, I think the national laws are completely ridiculous.
My position, I mean, they do have a point that there's worse things out there, and I guess medically wise it should be legal, but if it's not doing harm or there's worse things out there, then I don't think weed's the problem.
Does smoking weed break or fall in line with current social norms?
Yes.
It falls in line or it breaks?
It falls in line.
I think it's a norm, like at a party. People fit in. Like, you find your group. If they smoke, you smoke, then you fit in.
As time go on, it's becoming a norm for people to smoke weed. Like, if I ask someone, do you smoke, and they tell me no, I'm just like, why not? Like, why don't you smoke? And they be like, oh, because I don't feel like it, and I just don't feel the need to. So I think it's right in between.
I think it falls into social norms. I think it's a pretty normal thing to see.
Do you think that changes based on the generation? So whether it's baby boomers, Generation X, us, kids younger
I
than us?
definitely think it's getting more normalized as time goes on.
I know that back then it was more cigarettes and stuff like that, and now we're getting rid of the cigarettes, but we're smoking a lot more weed and marijuana.
All right. What I've seen in my life is older people have this sort of stigma towards marijuana, And that has kind of been going away with, I would say, our parents, but there is still that stigma with them. And it's almost completely gone with our generation. And I feel our kids, there will be little to no stigma with marijuana.
I think it's my parents and our generation, because I don't think my grandma really did weed, because back in the day, they did crack, you feel me? Like, it wasn't that popular. So, my father, he smokes weed. I just think as time went on, and I think time moving forward, that it's just going to become more and more of a social norm. So I just think millennials just kind of take the cake.
Right now, do you think that it's deviant behavior?
It depends on how you use it, bro. Like, if you smoking weed and you're being productive, it's nothing wrong with it. But don't let the weed get you lazy, because that's what it does. Like, it kind of stimulates you and you're just relaxed. You're very chill. But you can't let that stop you from doing what you have to do in life. You feel me? So that's when the stigma starts to become a reality.
My parents do, but like they wouldn't. I mean, I don't do it, but I don't think it's deviant behavior. I mean, it's your choice, I guess.
To what extent do you think weed is used on campus?
I don't think it's highly used. It's definitely used. We all know that, but I don't think it's highly used like other places. But it's definitely used.
Me personally, I know that weed is used a lot on campus. I mean, I see it all the time. I hear about it all the time. I don't think it's a really big thing.
I mean, it depends who you ask. Some people don't like it, but as far as I've seen, I don't think anybody has a huge problem with it now.
Right. So have you ever considered smoking yourself?
Yeah, I've tried it. I won't deny it. I've had it. It's an interesting experience.
Yeah, I've been with my friends back in high school, and a few of them would do it, but I didn't do it. I played sports and stuff, so I didn't want to get in trouble or anything.
I have a couple times. I mean, I wouldn't do it all the time, but once in a while it wasn't really bad, just to get the stress off.
Yes.
In what situations?
Social events, friends hanging out, parties, casual affairs.
Yes, I am a proud advocate of smoking weed.
In what situations do you usually?
Ooh, now this gonna get deep. So I use weed when I'm going through hardships in life and I need to like relax, right? So basically I rely on weed to get me through those times, whereas before I didn't. Like, if I'm going through something with my girlfriend or something, I'd be like, fuck, I gotta go smoke some weed. But before, I didn't do that. It was more so like, okay, let me go outside, play some ball, do that. But now I'm doing that, but also high. And sometimes you just wanna chill, you know what I mean? So I say I use it very frequently. It's like a coping mechanism. It's like a coping mechanism.
So after we did this project, we wanted to talk about some of the things that we found from looking at the people's responses and kind of like how our expectations lined up with how they actually turned out.
Alright, so during the interviews, we found out we interviewed people around campus. We had a list of 10 to 15 questions that we asked them about the perception of weed, about what they knew about current laws and regulations involving it, that type of thing. And we found that overall, the campus community was well informed about the national laws and then about New York's laws specifically, and even the laws within some of their home states. And there was no trouble due to them not knowing about the regulations or laws.
As you can see in the presentation, we had a list of questions and we asked the various people that we found. And
we used a snowball method of picking our interviewees.
Yeah, so we went to people that we were friends with, and then if they were with friends, then we tried to get their friends to also say something and do a little bit of an interview. So it kind of snowballed from people we knew out into the primary, secondary, and tertiary degrees of our social networks. I think there was also a lot of openness, especially with students, talking about weed. Like, one of the things that was discussed in classes that people may not want to talk about whether or not they smoke weed or they know people that smoke weed because of the stigma attached to it. But what we found is that people were actually pretty open to talk about it. That can come partly from the fact that it is legal in a lot of places in the country, and or at least decriminalized to the point where people are not going to be taken away and into jail for an ounce or so of weed. Especially students were very open to talking about it. We did have some trouble talking to more of the professional staff on campus. We went to the Office of SLICE, which is Student
Living and College Engagement.
Yeah, Student Living and College Engagement. I worked for them, and they denied to have a statement. We asked multiple people there, and the reason why they said they didn't want to say anything was because the fact that they have policies on campus and in the residence halls that pretty heavily hit down on the use of marijuana specifically on campus. So I think that part of that, maybe people had things that they thought personally and they wanted to be able to say, but because they didn't follow policies of the office that they worked in, then they